Looking forward. So this is about the product updates and also some of the recap into the August. We look back into August and coming back into the key session, and we'll dive deep into ToolJet form component and then see what we are all ahead. So we'll jump on to creating a new app. So if you go to app.tooljet.com, you should be able to get onto the home screen, which you should be already be aware of as it loads. All right, so we'll be starting with a new application, and once we create that, it should be landing up here. And if you notice, the UI is completely revamped. This is what I was referring to. The query panel is now completely, shaped up. And now, for us getting into specific aspects of the form, you can just go for, components manager in the right side and search for form, and this is the form component that helps you to create forms, right? So earlier there was this was usually built by ourselves, where you have to have a container and then multiple components inside the container, which actually creates a form by itself. But now we have a complete form component dedicated to it, which means that you can simply drag and drop, and you have a boilerplate components inside it, which you can also extend and then use it as a complete form by itself. But then the more interesting part about it is where comes the custom schema, right? So this is here. So as you click on the form, you should be able to see the properties and styles. In the properties, if you go get in, scroll a little bit down and see this option, use custom schema. So as you turn this on, you should be able to notice there is a change in the form component by itself. So now earlier the form is built using certain components externally. So there's a text input component which you can actually set individual events and everything right from the GUI aspect of the component manager. But then the difference is such where now the form is completely changed with the help of which is generated sourcing this JSON as a structure, or you call this JSON schema. Once you set it up, the form renders and shows you what this is all about. So this is the certain thing that we'll be talking about, and how you can use make utilize of this dynamism of the form component using JSON schema, right? So I think I'll put it like this. And then how does this work is, as I just shown you. So we'll be looking at, what is the JSON schema? Like you see that, I hope you can see that. So there is a, you set a title to it, let's submit the issue details, and that becomes the title of your form. And then it has properties. So in each properties are moreover like, you see these are lists inside of such. So these are components by itself, where you have first name and then you have a type of it, which means the type of the component that you want to have, or you can call directly as a field. But then we are calling it as a property of this specific form. And now you have it, all the details specific to you. Say there you can see also there is a validation part, and you can style it right from this JSON. And yes, just like that, you can have multiple properties, which comes from first name, last name, and email. As you can see, this is reflecting, and there is a description, and then there is a submit button that you can use it, right? So this is a generic schema that we're using for the form component, which when you toggle to use schema, the JSON schema, where this is how the structure looks at, and then that is how it renders in the left side, right? So now for the properties are as now what we are referring here. The number of properties that we could offer for right now is these are the list of things: the date picker, number input, password checkbox, toggle, and text area. And the following things that you see on the screen are what's supported to actually use in the form components with the help of the JSON schema, right? So as we just move forward directly into the application, and let's see how you can also use this with the help of the documentation, because we have the complete documentation about how you can use this form component using JSON schema. Okay, so now that you know how you can actually start with the form, as now you put it up here, you can go to docs.tooljet.com, and once you're up there, you can command K or search for forms. Yeah, it's right up there. I have already had it searched. And now once up here, you can able to see the dedicated descriptive information about all of this, you have a complete comprehensive details about different aspects of the form component. At the same time, as you now see that there is a certain section where you can see, yeah, I think we already crossed it. So it's, yeah, this is, yeah, using custom schema, where you can see that there is a title properties and then submit button as itself, but then getting onto the specific things where there is a general show, but then there are certain exposed variables, which means that you would be able to access the data of the form. We'll be looking at this, but just as it comes, I'm just sharing this to you, where you have a variable data, where how you access the form data is just the similar way as how you access for different other components. So you say components dot form one and data, and then a specific property or the component inside it, and you get the value of it, right? So that's how you bring the data of it, or you can get the generic data, all of it. And then this specific components, sorry, the actions related to this form are two. One is the CSAs, or submit form, and the reset form, which helps you to do certain operations. One is will enable you to submit the form, and other is to reset. We're getting on to the custom schema examples, where you see that data picker. So just to drive you through how it looks like, as you guessed it, as we already seen, there is a property, the name, and then you have the type of it, you have styles and the value, and all of it, as you can see right over here. So let us quickly build an application to show you what we are going to build. So let me bring this ready to show app. Yes, here we go. So this is the app that we're going to build. This app is a service catalog, which means that if you get to relate to it, if you're in an organization where there is a support team dedicated for helping you to offer services, and then there are certain specific services where you have IT help desk support, and then networking troubleshoot, and software installation, and furthermore. So these are some examples I have jotted down. But then, as you now have them listed here, um, each and every service request requires you to fill specific details to it, right? So network troubleshooting would require you certain details about the network type that you wanted to give, so that you get specific instructions, or you get in touch with the appropriate support person. So this is just a use case. Don't dwell into it. It's just a use case that we are going to explore as a foundation for that. So now you have, if you should be able to notice that on click of this specific service item, you should be able to see that the form is getting changed. And this is the same form. There's no more different. So it's just the form one. And now if you change this, you should be able to see it is changing, right? So how we are doing this is what we are going to explore, and we'll build it from scratch. At least we'll use these components. Maybe you can use this container, bring it up here and copy paste it and go forward much faster. Yeah, we'll see how you can use this with the form directly. Okay, so let me get back to the previous application right here. I'll take it to the next site so that it will be convenient. Okay, the first and the foremost, we'll have a container that will help you to hold all the other components. So now you have that. Don't look at the aesthetics of the application. Will majorly focus on the functionality of it. So as now you have it, I'm gonna have another component, which is here. I'll paste this inside here. So this is just another container. This is container two, and in which you have a text component, which is a service catalog. I just named it like that. And you have a subtext where you said that, can browse through all of that, and you have an icon. So all of these are from ToolJet. Nothing is external. You can just use this. Each and everything is a component here. I'm just using bringing it from the previous application shown to you, so that we quickly build this boilerplate code, boilerplate UI. Okay, so now for listing all the other services that we bring, well, let's quickly bring a table component and set it up to the left. Okay, so and then you can remove all of that client side pagination. You can remove the sorting, show download button, show filter button. I don't need any of those. So because we are going to use it just as a list, show update buttons, no, allow selection, we can have it, and you can have highlight selected row, yes. And then yeah, you can also show, yeah, search box can be helpful. So yep, looks good. And then let me minimize, reduce the width of it, and then set it to the left. Okay, and reduce a little so that it fits in. Okay, There you go. So now this is responsible for listing all the different services. So you can have your own services that you can bring from your API or from your database or anything. So for now, what I created is a simple JSON, JSON keeper, which lists different, uh, services, for example. So if you look at that, I have a simple JSON keeper. I just updated a JSON data into JSON keeper and just saved it. And now it has a list of all the services where it has name only thing, just a simple thing, just for our exampling purposes using this. And now you have each of it have a name. So all of these are different services. Now I'm using this to make a GET request and list all of that. As now you get inside the application, let's quickly pull up the query panel. And the go-to thing for bringing this data is REST API. As you click on that, the thing is get. And now you can paste this, or you can rename the query name as get services. Okay. All right, let me quickly preview this so that we can check the data is coming. Yes, you can see that in the bottom, the preview, and you have all the 9 items, which are different services are listed here. Okay, we can quickly run this so that it will be confirmed. And then now let's connect this thing to the table. So how you do this? You click on this table and go to the properties, remove this, and say queries.getServices.data. All right. So now you should be able to see the data should be coming up here. And then still there you need to go for services. There you go. Okay, so this is pretty much straightforward for just bringing up the services names and fitting it in the table, so that now we have all the services list. So now our next step is actually to, the moment I click on a specific service, I wanted to display a form dedicated to it, right? So that's the use case here. So for that, the first step, let's go for and get the form here. Okay, before that, we can also have another container in it. So you can bring a container and add it, hoping it looks good. Okay, bring it to a little bottom. And here is some simple hack. You can just go to styles and then set the box shadow and put the blur to something around 2. So it gives you a little cool, not so cool, but yes, a little beautified UI. So it gives you elevation there. And now once you are here, I'm going to add a form inside this container. So you can also extend this little sideways or of your choice. So you can say form. Once you have it, you can drag and drop the form component. And this brings you to here. Yes, extend it to the sides. And then there you have the form. Okay. So you can also do the same thing. You can go to styles of it and set the box shadow, set the blur to something like 2. So that gives you a little elevation. Yes. So the UI is absolutely ready. We don't need any more things. Just that we need to change the form, option in the properties to use custom schema. There you go. As you click on the form, you see the properties and you toggle the custom schema so that you have this form generated using this schema. Okay, so this is where we are. And now to create a specific things like user registration form, so this is the title of it, where you can see the existing JSON, where you can change this thing. You can set the title to something around enter the details, issue details maybe. Okay, so now as you do that, you should be able to see that it reflects back. So that's how it works. You have the title, and then you have the properties as we have seen previously. So each of it has first name, and then there is you have the first name, and it has its own you know styles of it. Sorry, this is what I was looking for. There you have styles, and then you also have other properties. So this is another component. If you see that there is a last name, so here in last name you see that there is another field which is created. So it is type text input. So you have its own value, and then to quickly try out. So for this form, we would not be using age. So for raising a request, we would not need it. So we can just remove it. So how you do it, you just select this specific section and just remove it, right? So now if I just click on that, you should be able to see that age for, the field age will, should not be there. There you go. So it just gone. So another field, what I wanted to add is I just want to have a email. So it has first name, last name. Let's quickly add how you can, how you can add an email to it. So I'm copying the last name thing where you can just copy it till somewhere to, okay, this is going to be a little tricky, but just bear with me. So you have it um background color, and then in the styles you have a background color, and this is that, and this is, I think it's still here. Okay, let me try it out and then see how it goes. Okay, so this is going to be last name. Instead, I'm going to say email, and then the type is going to be text input. It's okay, and then see the value to it. Let's keep the value as Lisa at example.com. Okay, so then you have label as email address, and then there are some styles to it where you can ignore them, and then there is a submit button. Let me see if this works. There you go, it works. Okay, so can be a little complicated or can be confusing a little, but yes, these are all about just carefully looking at these things and then making a move. So I was just a little conscious here, but then you can use some formatters and do it, but we'll be supporting it soon to help you make it look more easy with some other additional features to it. Okay, so yes, so we now have on IT help desk, you have entered the details which were asking for first name, last name, and email address. Let's also add some description to it. So for adding the description, I don't think this text input would be enough. We would be needing something else. I think text area should be a good thing. So let me go to documentation and see what is that we can use. So we can use something as text area, yeah, as a search rate. So for that, you need to have the property name as text area, and then the type should be, I mean, you can keep it anything, but then you should have the type as text area. So this is the major constraint. So I mean, this is the major schema that you have to follow. No more constraint, but as a schema, once you have it, you can set the styles and values and placeholders accordingly. Okay, so let me see if I can try this out by copy pasting. Oh, I have a button here. Yep. So we go back and see right after this email address. So the email address is ending at here. So and let me paste this and see what happens. So I just paste that, and then where did I start? Email address is over here, and this text, yeah, this is here. And you have text area. We can just say description. Okay, and then we have you can just remove it, all of that, and you can have a component. Okay, this is a comment. All right, okay, we are doing a live coding here, so I expect some issues. So let's remove all of these comments. So these are just comments given in the documentation. And then styles, you can also remove the style here for enabling it, and then there you get a visibility, and you can also remove that, or false, true or false, or hide it. I don't need that, and hide it. Okay, good. And then we have a border radius for it. Again, another comment here, we can remove it, border radius to set. All right, now you have a value. This is the text area. Okay, you can just put it just like that, and now you can remove the comment again. It's just not needed. And then yes, I hope you could be able to relate to it. And there is a placeholder. Enter details, maybe enter issue details, possibly. Okay, and then you can just remove this comment again, and you can set the label to something as description. Okay, just remove it, the other aspects of it. Okay, let me see how it goes. There you go, it worked. Looks like it has a border radius, which looks funny. We can quickly change that. This is going to be a little tricky. There you go, I found it so quick. So I'm going to remove this border radius to 20. Just remove this up, and I hope this get backs. Nice. All right. So there's a text area, there's a default text that it has. Awesome. But I hope you could able to relate how we are doing this. You can just go for the documentation and get the perfect schema, what you wanted to use, and come back here and get into here and set the complete schema. So that's how you generate the form here. So that's the first step. But then how you generate this is over, you can use the run.js things and dynamically change this JSON schema value here. So that's what we are going to explore. But then I hope you would be able to relate how you can actually create forms using this schema specific to certain components and have that filled inside the form component. Okay. So given this is the case, now that this is good for the IT help desk support, okay, but then we need to get another form for the network troubleshooting. Okay, so for that we will have another form schema. So for each of these things, we should have a schema specific to that service item so that you have the form displayed for that. Okay, so let me create a run.js for that. You can just create a run JavaScript query, and then here I'm going to get some pre-written code, so which is a constant or which has the data in it. So I'll just bring that to you to show you how that looks. Okay, so as now you see this, let me expand this a bit. Okay, there you go. So I've just created a constant which holds specific schemas for each and every service item, where you have IT help desk. The first one, if you notice. So yes, for that have IT help desk, and then there is a complete JSON for it, which comes down to till here. So as you know, now this is more formatted, which is easy to read for you. So now you see that it has a first name, last name, and then the email, and then it also has a description, the same thing what we have for what we just created. I'm also having another schema, the form schema for another service item, which is network troubleshooting, which I named exactly the same way. And then you have a title for it. You can just change this. The title is user registration from form with email. You can just change it to something like enter submit issue details. Okay, just like that. I'm just changing this title of the form. And you have, for this, you have first name, last name, and you have an email, and there is an additional component, a component where you have a network, where you have a choice to select a network type. I mean, here it is a text input, but you can use a drop down. And then you have a description for it. Yes, at the end you have a submit button. Yes, so you can have furthermore schemas for different service items, but then for the demonstration purpose, I'm just using two schemas for two different services here: IT help desk, and then the other is network troubleshooting. Okay, now that you have this constant created, which is the complete JSON of it, right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just create a function which actually returns the requested form. Okay, so it's going to be function, and now you can say that get service data, and then this takes as a service name as an input, and then once you have it, so this is going to return return from this object. So this object name is service schemas. You can just copy this and paste, and out of that I'm going to bring the service name, which was request. Okay, so this is going to be returned just like that, as simple as that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the get service. Okay, there are two gets. Okay, I'll just copy this and paste this, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this value dynamically on clicking of the component. So you can just say components, or you can just say components dot table one dot selected row dot name, right? So you can just, I'm just pasting it here. So now what happens is you just click on this row, and then that's where the value brings up here, right? Once you have that here, this will call, it's a pretty straightforward code. It just invokes this function, and then that gives the parameter value, which is the selected item of the row, and then it goes to that JSON object and fetches this key, and then returns that. So as simple as that. So given that, as you now see that the key is selected as the row is selected as network troubleshooting. Let me quickly preview and see how it works. So there you go. So now the moment I click on preview, it should be able to show you that, that the title is submit issue details, and then there are the properties are, you see the network type as a specific field for this thing. But now if I change the IT help desk and make a preview, you should be able to see, there is a change in it. So you're getting the schema based on it. So it's just a simple run JS query that you need to hold some of, JSON schemas of the forms, and then create a function and just send out what is needed. Okay, so you can just name this as something like form schema. All right, so you can just run it for simply, and then now you go for this form and remove this and just say queries.form schema.data. Okay, let me quickly run it and show you. Yep. So if I click on network troubleshooting and just run it, you should be able to see there is a change here. Yeah. But now the next step is just that we make this as a complete flow. Like as you click on that, you should be able to see it changes, right? So that's where you get the help of actions. So, or the events. You just need to click on the table and go to, events tab in the bottom where you have event section here. And now you can add an event where on click of on row clicked, I wanted to run a query which is going to be the action. And yep, you can have any conditions here, and then the query I wanted to run is form schema. Okay, so now that it is set it, the moment I click on IT help desk, you should be able to see it getting changed. So as I click on the table one specific row, it triggers this event and then runs this query, and that query takes the value of this service item, and then brings sends back the appropriate form schema, and that displays here. So this is a complete structure. So you can do the same thing for all the other service items here. But then I hope it's clear like how we do this, how you generate these forms dynamically using the JSON schema right from right from the table that you have a list of all the options. Okay, so I hope this is pretty straightforward. But then the next option is where you also can explore the submit. You can have events on it where the forms has certain events, like, and you can have two different events for this. There are on submit and on invalid. So just like that, you can do certain actions on submit where you can connect to a database or any other data sources, and then you can save data into it. And there is another event that you can execute on when it goes invalid, right? So as we are talking about the invalid thing, let me show you there are some validation things that you can look at. So if you notice for the form schema where the IT help desk support, where you have a title in properties, you can see that there is a type, there is a value, but then there is also a validation thing that you can write. So the max length of this field should be 6, not more than that. So let me try and go beyond 6 and see what it says. So write on here and they say Maria, and then say again Maria. So if you see that there is a complete there is a validation check where the length of this field value is breaching the validation rules that was set in the schema. So that is how you can also set some rules for it, and then it goes like just like that. So if you want to look at furthermore validations, you can refer to the documentation, and there are different validations that can set to multiple components here. So you just search for so the max length and min length, and there are also certain things here. So you can just look at specific ways for different components that can be helpful. All right. So this is about the dynamic generation of the forms, along with you have the form schemas, and then you have the events of the forms, and also some validation rules. And there are certain styles to it where it goes different for different requirements. The background color are just set to the default things here, but then you can always explore these things. But then the major functionality is about how you can use this dynamism on using the queries, and then using the form JSON schema, and using and creating a complete application that helps you to present forms with different schemas, right? So what else? All right, that's pretty much concluding about the using or generating dynamic forms with JSON schema in ToolJet. So we'll be open for questions and see what we can discuss about. So I can stop the screen share. and you're open to unmute and talk, or you can also use the chat to convey or ask anything.
Teja, I want to ask you something. Is not related with today's presentation, but I saw you in different presentation, and you have the possibility to copy paste from one application to another. At least this is what we saw just in your presentation early in the presentation. How you are doing that? Because I was not able to make the same copy paste from one application to another, or from one page to another for different components.
Oh, is it? So it's just I've just used just as a generic ways like how you do it. So if you just go here, let me show you how I did it. It's a very simple, I mean, very straightforward thing, but I don't know, but what causing the issue for you. But do you find any error logs while you're doing it by chance?
No, I didn't get any error.
So if you see that we have this simple app where you can also delete this. This is going to be complete empty now. So let me remove this and also minimize this. So you have this, and you also have this another thing which we have just created, right? So what I did is I just clicked on this component, right? Sorry, it's a container component, like Command C for Mac. So it says component successfully copied. So now that this component holds multiple other components inside it, so it copies all of them, right? And now I come here and then just say Command V, right? So it comes up there. So that is how I was doing it. So it's just that you just need to copy from one app and then paste it in another app. So it's just like that. Were you able to attain the same thing, or are you getting stuck somewhere?
No, I didn't get the message that the component is copied, so maybe something is
Oh,
not
maybe
working in my browser.
I think it's with the keys. So if it is not showing you the notifications, it means that it's possible that it's not recognizing the keys correctly. Because if I just say Control C in Mac, it won't show me, oh, it's still working. But if I say Option C, it won't work because it should be matching the key things. Maybe you can check that and see what is the right keys that you can use for the system that you're using. But you can also see what is the issue that you're causing. Are there any logs, or else we can also look into that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Awesome. So if there are no questions, I think we can conclude. But then if you have further questions using forms, and also you majorly using about the dynamism and how you can generate forms using the JSON schema, you can always join us at Slack in our Slack workspace, which you can join us at. I hope you're already there, but if you just in case if you're not, you can join us tooljet.com/Slack. And once you're up there, you can drop your questions, or you can share your error messages or your requirements that we can look in and see if we can help you progress. So thank you so much for each and every single one of you for joining us today, and also exploring this specifically about using forms with the JSON schema. So we look forward for furthermore interactions and your involvement into these activities that helps us to learn more and also give back in terms of the educational content that helps you to build better apps with ToolJet. So I look forward, and thank you so much once again for joining us today.